My legitimate elder sister fell deeply in love with the aloof monk and sought to drug him, hoping to lure him into breaking his vows and eloping with her. I risked everything to stop her, forcing her sacrificial plan to come to an abrupt end. Yet, that very night, Princess Mingju brazenly abducted the monk back to the princess mansion. My elder sister's heart shattered. She was summoned into the palace by imperial decree and swiftly rose through the ranks to become the imperial noble consort. But on my birthday, she tore at my hair, stripped me bare, and burned 1,000 incense sticks to immolate me alive, clutching a string of prayer beads, tears gleaming in her eyes. She smiled with maddening fervor. Dare to ruin the bond between Wu Chen and me, and I shall condemn you to eternal damnation. At her command, a peachwood nail was violently driven into my brow. I never fathomed that my elder sister's obsession with Wu Chen was so profound that she would mercilessly torture her own flesh and blood, her own sister, to death. If given another chance, I would sit by the window, reciting scriptures, and allow my elder sister to stealthily enter Wu Chen's chamber. I died a gruesome death, my curled-up body riddled with charred holes, a long peachwood nail piercing my brow. My elder sister ordered my corpse to be cast into the common burial ground, left to be ravaged by vultures and feral dogs. The day I died was my birthday. My elder sister quietly brought me into the palace, claiming she had a surprise for me. Filled with anticipation, I followed the nanny into the palace, only to be led through winding corridors into a stark white ancestral hall. Before I could react, several eunuchs suddenly surged forward and pinned me to the ground. They tore off my clothes and pressed me before the ancestral tablet. Beside it, my elder sister stood clad in white, holding prayer beads, like a celestial fairy descended to earth. But in the next moment, her face twisted into a grimace as she grasped my hair with ferocity, eyes brimming with cruelty and hatred. I could never have imagined that the sister I relied on most, born from the same womb, would forcibly pull every strand of hair from my head. She brushed the strands from her hands and smiled as the eunuchs pierced my flesh with burning incense. Amid my screams and wails, she knelt devoutly on the meditation cushion, chanting prayers. I could not believe this was my kindest, most beloved elder sister. Why would she treat me so? I questioned her over and over, asking what wrong I had done to deserve such brutality. She stood, fingers lightly twisting the prayer beads, and pressed her foot cruelly upon my neck. I was instantly powerless to resist, my body riddled with burnt holes, not a single piece of unscathed flesh left. She gazed down at my suffering with a mad smile. "It's all your fault, wretch. If you hadn't stopped me, Wu Chen and I would have long been immortal soulmates." Poor Wu Chen defiled by that venomous woman. Princess Mingju, you truly deserve to die. I trembled in pain, unable to defend myself. The current Empress Dowager was obsessed with Buddhism, often summoning the most renowned monks from across the realm to discuss the Dharma. Among them, Wu Chen was the most outstanding, versed in all scriptures and breathtakingly handsome. The common folk secretly called him the Serene Monk. Few knew that he was already the favorite of Princess Mingju and had seduced the purity of several noble ladies. My elder sister was one of his targets, but when she was willing to offer herself, I desperately intervened. Yet for such a depraved monk, my sister harbored a grudge against me. Even after becoming the imperial noble consort, showered with countless favors, she deceived me into the palace to torture me to death. She heartlessly sacrificed her own sister's life to mourn her lost lover and love. The air was thick with the scent of burnt flesh and incense ash. Every inch of my bleeding body throbbed with agony. My elder sister took a burning incense stick and shoved it brutally into my mouth. I screamed silently, wishing for death on the spot. She squatted down to admire my misery, smiling softly. "Does it hurt?" This is only the beginning. If you hadn't stopped me, Wu Chen and I would have flown together as soulmates. This is your retribution. I groaned in despair, struggling feebly, my body pinned to the ground, tears blurring my vision. She knelt on the meditation cushion, gazing affectionately at the ancestral tablet. The eunuchs mercilessly thrust incense into every inch of my flesh. My birthday passed amidst my agonized screams. The next day, my elder sister looked at my mangled form and laughed madly. Dare to sabotage the bond between Wu Chen and me. I shall condemn you to never be reborn. In the next instant, the long peach wood nail was driven deep into my brow. Blood flowed profusely. I died with unclosed eyes. I vowed that if there was an afterlife, I would make her live a fate worse than death. Recently, the capital was bustling with excitement. The Empress Dowager's birthday was approaching, and the emperor, to show filial piety, decreed that renowned monks from across the realm be summoned to celebrate. Among them was a young monk named Wu Chen, who had become famous in the capital within just 2 days of arrival. His visage was as exquisite as a painting, his demeanor cold and ethereal, clad in pure white robes that made him seem like an immortal descended to earth. The women of the capital adored watching him chant sutras, his slender right hand gently moving the prayer beads, his thin lips parting softly, his voice like a serene mountain valley. To highlight his uniqueness, the women secretly called him the Serene Monk. My elder sister fell hopelessly in love with him at first sight. Every day, she secretly donned a maid's uniform to visit Jinggan Temple just to hear Wu Chen chant. She even used her personal savings generously, donating 1,000 taels of silver as incense money to Jinggan Temple. Her actions finally caught Wu Chen's attention, and he gifted her a string of prayer beads as a token of gratitude. But while my elder sister indulged in her beautiful fantasies, the palace suddenly announced an imperial edict to bestow the prime minister's daughter as a consort. As the talented and beautiful daughter of the prime minister, becoming a consort was a destiny she could neither resist nor reject. Her parents discovered her frivolous spending on Wu Chen and were furious, immediately forbidding her from leaving the prime minister's residence. Before entering the palace, she was not to set foot outside the residence again. In the previous life, Li Su Ran was confined to her courtyard, screaming and begging desperately to soften her parents' hearts. She even resorted to starving herself. Eventually, a strong servant forcibly fed her a bowl of rice porridge, but she hanged a white silk cloth at midnight. After much turmoil, her mother assigned maids to watch her day and night, denying her any chance to harm herself. Confined for half a month, my elder sister seemed to come to terms with her fate and ceased threatening to die. With a sorrowful expression, she pleaded with our mother to allow her to bid farewell to Wu Chen. She promised that after parting, she would wholeheartedly prepare to become a consort and never entertain any improper thoughts again. Otherwise, even in the palace, she had countless ways to end her own life. Our mother, seeing my sister's exhausted and numb state, softened and granted her request, but I accidentally discovered that my elder sister intended to drug Wu Chen, attempting to seduce him into breaking his vows so they could elope together. In my previous life, seeing her fall so low, I risked everything to stop her. I told her that Wu Chen had been involved with many noble ladies and was already the favored of the princess. Yet she insisted on pursuing her plan, accusing me of maliciously slandering Wu Chen. Left with no choice, I ordered her to be knocked unconscious and brought back to the residence. On the very night my sister planned to sacrifice herself, Princess Mingju boldly abducted Wu Chen to the princess mansion. Upon awakening and learning the truth, my sister's heart died and she entered the palace. Within 2 years, she rose to become the imperial noble consort, beloved by all. But to my shock, when I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the very night my elder sister tried to drug and tempt Wu Chen. The faint scent of sandalwood incense from the temple lingered in the air. Standing before the incense burner, I seemed to glimpse the mangled, unrecognizable form my body took in my previous life. Pierced by the burning incense, a gentle breeze swept past, causing an uncontrollable shiver to ripple through me. Heaven has eyes. It has indeed granted me a chance at rebirth. Suzhou's sister wishes to be alone. I turned around to see my elder sister clutching a small porcelain vial tightly in her hand. Oh, very well. Sister, please be careful and don't wander too far. Feigning ignorance of her unusual demeanor, I responded lightly and then resumed my focused transcription of Buddhist scriptures by the window. The sound of a door closing echoed behind me. Through the window, I cast a cold gaze upon my elder sister, who, clad in a sheer gauze dress, bent down and stealthily slipped into the monk's chamber. An hour later, the silent temple was suddenly pierced by a furious pounding on the door. I set down my brush, massaged my aching wrist, and curled my lips into a faint cold smile. At last the moment had come. Princess Mingju, notorious for her licentiousness and arrogance, was fond of gathering the most handsome men from across the land. Presently, her household boasted more male favorites and concubines than even her emperor brother's harem. As for Wu Chen, he had been secretly involved with Princess Mingju for over 2 years. All that was unfolding now was merely a private indulgence between the two of them. I had assumed my elder sister would be caught red-handed by Princess Mingju, but the next moment, the door was suddenly flung open. My sister staggered in, her thin gauze dress torn and disheveled. Noticing my gaze, she hugged her own shoulders uneasily. In the flickering candlelight, I caught sight of several ambiguous red marks upon her skin. Feigning surprise, I exclaimed, "Sister, how did your clothes get torn like this?" Panic-stricken, she hurried forward to cover my mouth, then bent down and blew out the candle on the desk. The entire sequence unfolded in an instant, yet I clearly saw her wrists immaculately clean. The guardian tattoo had vanished. After a brief moment, a procession arrived at Wu Chen's meditation chamber, bearing a palanquin. A strikingly alluring woman descended from it, as if she were returning home. Pushing open the door, shortly thereafter, a wobbly Wu Chen was carried into the palanquin, and the group departed grandly. But the temple was so silent at night that we, hiding in the opposite room, could not help but overhear the laughter and teasing emanating from within the palanquin. I sensed my sister's body trembling slightly. She gripped my arm tightly, evidently furious. Once the group had completely vanished, my sister collapsed to the floor in exhaustion, cursing, bitterly ruined my plans. Vile woman, vile woman. I sighed with pity and crouched beside her, whispering regretfully into her ear. Master Wu Chen is truly pitiable, being taken away by Princess Mingju. Her breath caught for a moment. I fanned the flames of her fury. I wonder if Master Wu Chen's body can endure the princess torment. Rumors say she delights in torturing him. Silence, she snapped sharply. I feigned fright, quickly fell silent, and tugged at her sleeve softly. Sister, what's wrong? She paced back and forth like a beast trapped in a cage, muttering incessantly, I can't let this be. I must find a way. I have to rescue Wu Chen. I watched her coldly from the corner. Li Soren's obsession with eloping with Wu Chen verged on madness. Watching him being abducted by Princess Mingju was like a dagger plunged into her heart. In my previous life, I severed the ill-fated bond between my sister and Wu Chen with ruthless resolve. dissolve, allowing her to rise as the exalted imperial noble consort. This time, I would not intervene. I was eager to see what earth-shattering deeds my sister would commit to reclaim Wu Chen. My sister's dalliance with the monk had been exposed. Mother learned from the maid that my sister's guardian tattoo had disappeared, and that she bore several suspicious red marks. She was so enraged that she spat blood and fainted on the spot. Father was furious, ordering my sister dragged into the ancestral hall, demanding a full confession of the events, threatening to erase her from the family genealogy and beat her to death otherwise. It was the first time my sister had seen father so enraged and unrestrained. She dared not admit that she had drugged Wu Chen and willingly surrendered herself. Crying, she crawled over to clutch father's leg, weak and helpless, sobbing, "Father, I truly went to bid farewell to Wu Chen that day. It was the second sister who drugged us." I suddenly raised my eyes and indeed caught father's dark, brooding glare fixed upon me. Before I could explain, he strode over and slapped me. "Ungrateful daughter, kneel." A flicker of joy flashed across Li Suren's eyes as she continued to weep. Second sister once said she admired the emperor. Perhaps it was for this reason she framed me. "You wish to replace Suran and enter the palace as a consort." Suran's implication was clear, and father immediately sensed the scheme. To be honest, being backstabbed by my elder sister was not unexpected. Father's reaction was also within my anticipation. Though I was nominally the second legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household, I had always felt like a mere foil to Li Suren. My parents lavished their love and attention on her instead. At school, Suran was obsessed with dancing and neglected her studies, even coaxing and deceiving me into handing over my assignments. When father found out, he was furious, beating my hands red with a ruler. Despite knowing Soren was the culprit, at the flower-viewing banquet, Suran was pushed into the water after a quarrel with other noble girls. Yet, upon returning home, father punished me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall for failing to protect her. When the palace bestowed exquisite, shimmering brocade, Suran received 2 new outfits, while I was given only a simple handkerchief. I had long sensed father's inexplicable aversion, even hostility towards me. Whenever it came to matters concerning Suran and me, father was unconditionally biased towards her. Thus, I covered my face and knelt obediently, whispering, "If sister says so, then so be it." Father, enraged, kicked me to the ground and declared his intention to disown me, calling me a malicious daughter. "Father, no." Li Suren threw herself over me, shielding me, her expression one of anguish. "I am now a withered flower, no longer fit to enter the palace to serve. Second sister is also a legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household. Why not let her enter the palace instead? This would solve the urgent problem and fulfill her admiration for the emperor. Father, I beg you to spare second sister. Think of it as preserving the honor of our Prime Minister's family." Li Suren wept with such sincerity and heartbreak that, if I were not the one she slandered, I might have been deceived. Father, who doted on Li Suren most of all, was genuinely moved by her flawed words and began to consider the possibility. Ultimately, under Li Suren's coaxing and reassurance, he snorted coldly at me and swept out in a huff. Once only Li Suren and I remained in the ancestral hall. She held me tenderly, her voice full of apology and sorrow. "Little sister, I'm sorry, but I truly have no other choice. Please don't blame me, all right?" In my previous life, after being punished, Li Suren often comforted me with the guise of innocence, and I always believed her. A slap followed by a sweet word, this was her usual tactic with me. But this time, I was no longer the fool to be deceived. "But sister, is it worth it?" Her body stiffened. I brushed her hair behind her ear and held her hand with tenderness. I know you have deep affection for Master Wu Chen, but now he is Princess Mingzhe's favorite. Sister, your fate with Master Wu Chen is one of connection, but no union. In truth, Li Suren was fully aware that the notion of rescuing Wu Chen from the princess residence was nothing short of a fanciful daydream. Yet, she simply could not let him go. All she desired was to elope with him and share a life together in blissful harmony. My dear sister, she suddenly grasped my hand in hers. Reversing our hold after you enter the palace. Strive to win favor. Please help your sister. Won't you? A cold smirk flickered within me, though my face bore an expression of reluctance. I am neither as beautiful as you, nor as talented. Trapped within the palace walls, seeking power is bound to be an uphill battle. I confessed. Noticing the dimming light in her eyes, I shifted my tone. However, what? She urged. I bit my lip gently and revealed. The day after tomorrow is the Empress Dowager's birthday. Princess Mingzhu will bring Wu Chen to attend. I've heard that she intends to petition the Empress Dowager to appoint him as her consort. Li Suren clenched her teeth tightly, her face contorted with fury. I will never allow that. That will be the only chance for you and Master Wu Chen to escape, provided that Master Wu Chen is willing to leave this place of turmoil with you, I added cautiously. Upon hearing this, her expression softened, a tender affection illuminating her eyes. We have long since surrendered our hearts and souls to each other. Of course, he is willing. I studied her countenance with satisfaction before revealing my ultimate intent. Though Princess Mingzhu is licentious and lascivious, her beauty is unparalleled. I fear Master Wu Chen might be ensnared in her tender embrace. Why don't you, sister, perform a dance on the Empress Dowager's birthday? With your exquisite beauty and graceful movements, you will undoubtedly captivate the entire audience. At that moment, Master Wu Chen will surely be willing to elope with you, becoming a couple envied by all. Her heart was moved by my words. She fell into contemplation, her gaze shimmering with excitement and yearning. I quietly slipped out of the ancestral hall, and, as I turned, my face instantly hardened into a cold mask. The fish has taken the bait. Before dawn had broken, Li Suren's courtyard was already bustling with activity. Burning incense, bathing, dressing. I, too, had gone early to wait by her side. After she had changed into her 10th outfit, shattered 5 teacups, and slapped her maidservant thrice, I finally stepped forward with deliberate composure. I kicked aside the lavish embroidered garments she had packed in a chest and retrieved a brand new white robe from a corner, its collar and waistband simply adorned with red silk threads. Sister, this will surely look beautiful on you, pure and unadorned, perfectly matching Master Wu Chen's monk's robe, I suggested. Li Suren cast me a doubtful glance, but when she heard my mention of matching the monk's robe, a bashful smile crept onto her face as she retreated behind the folding screen to change. In truth, my taste proved quite impeccable when she emerged. The maid's awestruck gazes finally persuaded her to sit before the bronze mirror and begin her makeup. By the time this whole ordeal concluded, the sun had fully risen. Taking the teacup from Li Suren's personal maid, I handed it to her with a playful smile. Fair and untainted fairy sister, take a sip of tea to soothe your throat, and then we shall depart. She sipped lightly, and I leaned close to whisper in her ear, after your dance, when the incense burns down 1 stick, excuse yourself and slip away to the rock garden. I will notify Master Wu Chen to meet you there. Someone I have arranged will escort you both away. She nodded in satisfaction, her hands trembling with excitement. I smiled in return. Naturally, I had no intention of informing Wu Chen, nor arranging any escort. After all, I was merely a powerless, unloved second young lady. Where would I find the wealth or connections to orchestrate such a plan? Nor was I afraid that Li Soren might discover the truth. She would never have the chance. At the banquet, Princess Mingzhu and Wu Chen were conspicuously absent for quite some time. Only after the ministers had presented their birthday gifts and the noble ladies began their performances did the two finally make their delayed entrance. Princess Mingzhu appeared, clad in resplendent rainbow robes, walking against the light with an alluring and majestic grace that captivated all. Beside her strode a man in a white monk's robe, his posture upright and exuding a serene otherworldliness. However, their garments were somewhat disheveled, and given Princess Mingzhu's notorious reputation, the reason for their tardiness was glaringly apparent. Li Soren noticed as well. I heard her sudden, rapid breathing and a venomous muttered curse. Wretch, shameless. Perhaps her glare was too venomous and direct, for Princess Mingzhu, just about to take her seat, suddenly turned and locked eyes with her. Startled, my elder sister hastily lowered her gaze, her fingers twisting the thin handkerchief tightly. I saw Princess Mingzhu appraising Li Soren, with interest examining her attire and the string of Buddhist beads on her wrist, then glancing at Wu Chen's white monk's robe beside her. Finally, she smiled knowingly and took her seat with elegance. Moments later, an imperious maidservant approached me and Li Soren, carrying a cup of wine. "The princess gift for you," she announced. Li Soren's face drained of color. She sat frozen, unwilling to take the cup. I accepted it politely and drained it in one gulp. "Thank you for the princess favor." Seeing I was unharmed, she finally lifted the cup, hiding her face behind her sleeve as she drank, while the others admired Miss Wang's zither performance. I leaned close to Li Soren. "The princess may have sensed something amiss. We cannot delay any longer." She nodded, and once Miss Wang stepped down, she stood and bowed to the Empress Dowager. "I have created a dance to present in your honor." Li Soren assumed her position, and the next moment, the ethereal sound of the zither arose, accompanied by a haunting Sanskrit chant that echoed throughout the great hall. She moved in harmony with the melody, flicking her long sleeves gracefully, her delicate form twirling lightly, her slender feet treading as if stepping upon lotus blossoms. The audience was utterly entranced. I raised my head to drink another cup of wine, discreetly covering my nose. Suddenly, Hauersakin Hey, PFFT, toot. A bizarre loud sound startled everyone. Li Soren, in the midst of her dance, froze abruptly. PFFT, PFFT, PFFT. One after another, the unmistakable sounds of flatulence echoed. All eyes turned in shock toward Li Soren, standing rigidly at the center. The noble ladies covered their noses with handkerchiefs, their faces contorted with disgust as they stared at the motionless figure. Bang! A tremendous noise finally roused the stunned Li Soren. Her face flushed crimson. She looked around helplessly, but as the old saying goes, one can endure a full bladder for miles, but holding back a bowel movement is far more difficult. She had clearly reached her limit. Bending slightly, legs pressed tightly together, her hands fidgeted, attempting desperately to cover behind her. The Empress Dowager's face turned ashen, covering her nose. She wore a look of displeasure and was about to gesture for Li Soren to step down when a sudden commotion erupted below. Li Soren had lost control entirely. A pungent stench instantly permeated the entire banquet hall. Her father and mother finally realized what had occurred and hurried forward to pull her away. In turning, she inadvertently revealed the prominent yellow stain marring the back of her white robe. "Ah!" the noble ladies screamed, covering their faces. "Ugh!" The children began vomiting uncontrollably. A once splendid banquet was utterly ruined. The plan to elope ended without a trace. She did not even have the chance to speak a word to Wu Chen. Following this incident, Lisuran became the laughingstock and gossip of the entire capital city, and, indeed, the whole nation. Greatly traumatized, she locked herself indoors, spending nearly every moment submerged in her bath. I could not allow her to languish in such despair. After all, this was merely the beginning. During a visit, I accidentally let slip. Princess Mingju has begun to neglect Wu Chen and recently sent him back to Jing'an Temple. She gripped my hand tightly, her bloodshot eyes wide with disbelief. Is that true? I nodded, anger barely restrained as I told her. Sister, you must stop loving Wu Chen. He has surely fallen for the princess. He wants the princess to bear his children, but she refuses. So he has refused to share her bed. Only then, in anger, did the princess send him back to Jing'an Temple. Lisuran panted heavily, seemingly overwhelmed with emotion. I smiled faintly and turned to leave. That very night, my legitimate elder sister had once again begun sneaking off to Jing'an Temple, dressed as a maid-servant, while my elder sister spent each night entwined with Wu Chen in passionate embraces, utterly absorbed in each other's affection. An imperial edict was issued within the palace. The second legitimate daughter of the prime minister's household, Li Suju, was to be conferred the title of consort and would enter the palace 3 months hence, just as my elder sister had wished. After her disgrace at the banquet, the emperor finally bestowed upon me the title of consort. However, on that very day, an uninvited guest intruded into my boudoir. The infamous Princess Mingju, scorned and ridiculed by the world, was boldly sprawled across my bed fast asleep. Startled by the noise, she lazily opened her eyes, propping her head up with one hand, and fixed me with a mischievous grin. Stop playing the part of that wretched consort. Why not come with me to the princess mansion and enjoy yourself instead? I poured myself a cup of tea and cast her a cool glance. Recently, I've taken a young man from Miaojiang, broad-shouldered and slender-waisted, with an extraordinary stamina, practically a little demon. PFFT. I burst out, spewing my tea all over the place. Enough. I have no desire to hear your amorous escapades. Mingju pouted, softly clicking her tongue in displeasure. I was an unremarkable, quiet, and decorous second, legitimate daughter. Mingju was a flirtatious princess who dreamed of possessing all the handsome men under heaven. No one would have guessed that beneath the surface, Princess Mingju and I were intimate confidantes. That was how, in my previous life, I came to learn of Wu Chen's deception. How he defiled a noble lattice purity and then spent a night of passion with Mingju. Hey Ju, don't you care about your elder sister? How can you bear to see her entangled with Wu Chen? Mingju's eyes sparkled as she looked at me. I replied coldly, she is unworthy of my concern. Oh my. Former sisters turned foes. Does this signify a collapse of morality or a distortion of human nature? At 8 o'clock tonight, CCTV will bring you the report. I sighed wearily. Mingju often rambled nonsense I could not comprehend, and now she had started again. After blowing out the candle, Mingju and I chatted on the bed until well past midnight, until a knock at the window interrupted us. Reluctantly, she ceased sharing the gossip of the capital. Ju, my Miaojiang lad, has come to fetch me. I must go first. She climbed onto the windowsill with a cheerful smile, but turned serious before leaving. I don't know what's happened between you and your elder sister, but that Wu Chen is not a good manus. Mind is disturbed. He likes having a green hat on his head. Understand? I stared at her in bafflement. TS key. Anyway, if you still care about your elder sister, you'd better make her leave Wu Chen, or else. Mingju gave me a sly wink before being swept away by a tall young man. Huh, I do care about her so much, so that I intend to ruin her reputation and wish her no peace. Lee Soren had once again been soaking in the bathtub every day. Her personal maid, anxious and distressed, sought me out. Second, Miss, please go see the eldest miss. Every time the eldest miss returns from Jinggan Temple these days, she immerses herself in the bath. I thought she must have heard some unpleasant words, but I have also discovered bruises on her body. My hand, which was trimming flowers, paused abruptly, and Mingju's warning about Wu Chen's unstable mind surfaced in my thoughts. Behind the screen, Lee Soren was submerged in the bathtub. After several days apart, she appeared much thinner, her lips pale, and her eyes bloodshot. As the maid had said, there were indeed wounds on her body, bruises on her neck, slash marks on her shoulders. Seeing me, she suddenly sank lower into the water, revealing only her sharp, gaunt chin, and barked at me, get out at once. Her demeanor made me suspect something, so I obediently left the room. A moment later, she emerged fully dressed, her emotions steady. Sister, I slipped and fell when descending the mountain, sustaining multiple abrasions. So, I have been in a bad mood. I didn't mean to be harsh with you. You won't hold it against me, will you? I shook my head obediently. It's all right. I don't blame you. Seeing how easily I was placated, as usual, Lee Soren stepped forward and grasped my hand. Wu Chen plans to take me away from here. He only wishes to marry me as his wife, but I will be treated as a concubine. We intend to wed the day after, tomorrow. Just the two of us. Will you be my witness, little sister? I lowered my head, hesitating. She gripped my hand tighter, unconsciously, like a drowning person clutching the last straw. Please, I beg you, little sister. I nodded in agreement. Of course, I never intended to attend. Though I was a reborn soul, I possessed neither the strength nor the influence to confront such matters. Only a fool would fall into so crude a trap. I borrowed a covert guard from Mingju to gather intelligence for me. It was nearly dawn when he returned. Hesitating as he recounted, Wu Chen was kidnapped by a band of villains. To save his life, Lee Soren willingly submitted to Themstil in front of Wu Chen. I lowered my gaze, understanding at last why she had been incessantly cleansing her body and why she bore so many marks of abuse. My elder sister's devotion to Wu Chen was truly profound. The guard continued. Lee Soren begged for mercy, promising to offer them a pure, noble lady tonight, just to spare Wu Chen's life, since you did not attend. The villains were enraged and tortured her, all the more cruelly. The teacup in my hand slipped and shattered upon the floor. I knew this night was a trap, but I had not expected my elder sister to be willing to sacrifice me to save her beloved. A dull ache rose within me. In my previous life, my elder sister had cruelly slain me, blaming me for breaking up her union with Wu Chen. And what of this life? In her eyes, I was a devoted sister, helping her wholeheartedly. Yet, even so, she was prepared to sacrifice me for her beloved. The fleeting pity I had felt upon hearing of her submission to those villains vanished entirely. I whispered a few words into the guard's ear, handed him a pouch of gold, and he took his leave. I gazed out the window, my eyes filled with icy resolve. Lee Soren, this path you have chosen is your own. 2 days later, on a bustling street, crowded with passers-by, lay a scantily clad woman. Her body was covered with bruises and wounds, and her spirit seemed shattered beyond repair. She shouted vehemently, "I am the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister, imperial noble consort. All of you, get away from me." Upon hearing this, our father hastened to my elder sister's residence, only to find her personal maid impersonating her. When he learned of Lee Suren's secret meetings with Wu Chen, he flew into a rage and ordered the maid to be beaten to death on the spot. Despite his fury, having cherished his daughter for more than a decade. Our father brought Soren back to the mansion and summoned the finest physicians, employing the most precious medicines. I observed coldly, offering no comment. On the eve of my entrance into the palace, Soren stormed into my courtyard in the dead of night, appearing as a madwoman. Is it you? You've been reborn, too. I leisurely poured myself a cup of tea, curling my lips into a smile. What is sister talking about? I don't understand. Ah, she screamed in despair. You wretched woman. You're the one who ruined me. Why didn't you stop me from meeting Wu Chen? I will kill you. I could not suppress a laugh and gazed at her ferocious face. Sister, your selfishness and cruelty continue to astonish me. Last life, I tried to stop you. And then, have you forgotten you burned me alive with incense? Have you forgotten how you tormented me all night and even nailed peach wood to my brow after my death? This life, as you wished. I will no longer interfere with you and Wu Chen. Why are you still dissatisfied? At the mention of Wu Chen's name, it was as if some horrifying memory was unleashed within her, and she howled madly. Wu Chen, he is no mere mortal. He orchestrates and performs all by himself, causing me such torment. Begone. Do not touch me. Begone. Soren crouched down, clutching her body fiercely, muttering incessantly, her head shaking with a nervous frenzy. It's all your fault, you wretched woman. I am the legitimate eldest daughter. I am the imperial noble consort. Your Majesty, I demand to see your Majesty. I ignited an incense stick, yanking her hair with force, and as she screamed in terror, I thrust the burning incense violently into her mouth. Soren writhed on the ground in agony, her gaze toward me as if laced with venom. I clapped my hands gracefully, looking down upon her pitiful state with disdainful amusement. As she fainted, I chuckled softly. Sister, you must live well. Your younger sister has a grand gift to bestow upon you. I entered the palace and was personally tutored by Mingju, swiftly earning the emperor's exclusive favor. In my leisure moments, I occasionally perused some folk illustrated booklets purchased from outside the palace, such as this one. The painting depicted a woman bound in a large cross shape upon a wooden frame, her expression one of utter despair and agony, clad only in two thin veils covering her most intimate parts. Behind her stood a solemn Buddha statue, beside which a young novice monk struck a wooden fish. Devotees below held burning incense, greedily gazing at the woman upon the frame. Her body was riddled with countless charred holes, cruel and grotesque. As I continued to look, I laughed aloud, my feet swinging with delight. The emperor arrives. I casually tossed the booklet into the charcoal brazier, along with the plea for help letter my father had sent me. My legitimate elder sister missing. What concern is that of mine? Amid the crackling flames, I rose to greet the young sovereign. Outside, heavy snow swirled inside. Laughter and joy filled the air. My life was only just beginning.